Donald Trump has announced via Twitter that William Barr, his attorney general, will be leaving the White House pretty soon. Let me read you the wording in his tweet. He says, just had a very nice meeting with Attorney General Bill Barr at the White House. Our relationship has been a very good one. He has done an outstanding job. As per letter, Bill will be leaving just before Christmas to spend the holidays with his family. It's actually shockingly polite considering what Trump really feels toward Attorney General Barr, which I'll get into in just a second. Deputy Attorney General Jeff Rosen, an outstanding person, will become acting Attorney General. Highly respected Richard Donahue will be taking over the duties of Deputy Attorney General. Thank you to all. So that was the entirety of his tweet. Cenk, first impressions, what do you think?
Yeah, so if you don't know the full context of Bill Barr, you won't know how stunning this is. I mean, he has intervened at least half a dozen times in preposterous extra legal maneuvers to help Donald Trump, including most famously, of course, in the Mueller report and the impeachment cases. In the Mueller report, he declared that Mueller said that Trump had not done it, when that is not what the report had said. It was outrageous. It was and he wouldn't let anybody see the Mueller report. He mischaracterized it on purpose, all to cover up for Donald Trump. And the list goes on and on. He intervened when he shouldn't have to ask for leniency for Roger Stone. He's delaying legal proceedings on a rape case against Donald Trump. It goes on and on. No one has defended Donald Trump legally more and more effectively than Bill Barr. But at the end, when Donald Trump 100% clearly lost the election, and there was absolutely no evidence at all to overturn that result, Bill Barr did the cardinal sin of saying the truth for once. He said, there just is not voter fraud in this election in a scale that would overturn the results. And Trump was furious. He's like, look, I hired you to lie, cheat, and steal for me. So not for the country. I don't care that you're technically supposed to represent the people of the United States as the attorney general. No, I hired you to be my lawyer against the law and steal, and you won't steal it, so you're fired. So he puts out a nice tweet so it doesn't look like that he's doing a panic fire, and so that it won't look like he's asking the next acting attorney general to steal the election for him, but he definitely will, 100%.
Right, and so the letter that Donald Trump was referencing in his tweet was a letter that William Barr put out, and in that letter he was also incredibly polite to Trump and heaped praise on him. Let me give you a little excerpt where he writes, "Your 2016 victory speech, in which you reached out to your opponents and called for working together for the benefit of the American people, was immediately met by a partisan onslaught against you, in which no tactic, no matter how abusive and deceitful, was out of bounds." So even at this late date, William Barr, after everything that Donald Trump has done, is still at least overtly supportive. Who knows how he really feels about Trump internally? There have been some reports indicating that he's not intimidated by Trump, that he's just a ranting wannabe dictator. I'm paraphrasing for the most part. But one thing that I do want to also add is Donald Trump wasn't just furious with William Barr over the fact that he was willing to tell the truth about the lack of evidence showing any widespread voter fraud. He was also furious with William Barr for refusing to overly politicize this investigation into Joe Biden. So Trump was really hoping that prior to the election, the Justice Department would announce these big investigations into Joe Biden and his dealings with foreign companies. And I don't know why Barr decided to do things the way he did. He certainly went along with Trump's disinformation campaign prior to Election Day about alleged widespread voter fraud tied to mail-in ballots. But that was the first thing, basically, that Trump was furious about. And then his hatred for Barr was solidified after Barr refused to go along with the voter fraud talking points coming from Trump and his campaign.
Yeah, so I think that Barr drew the line on a couple of places for here. I'll tender a guess for why. On the Hunter Biden stuff, he's like, look, I'm willing to lie about other people's investigations. I'm willing to order illegal investigations because that's around the edges. Nobody's gonna put me in jail for ordering an extra investigation, right? But I'm not willing to make up evidence that actually could get me disbarred and imprisoned. I'm just not gonna do that. So why? Because it's about his personal preservation. He's like, I'm not going to jail for you. I'll do everything, every lie, every piece of cheating you need outside of actually going to jail, risking going to jail, right? And so, and then after the election, he said all those things about, oh my God, fraud and mail-in ballots are terrible, and I'm having this Justice Department look into it in case it was a stealable election. If it was close enough that a little bit of shenanigans could paper over the real results, they could steal the thing and then just go too late, nothing you could do about it, right? But this turns out to be not a stealable election because they needed to steal 4 different states, some with small margins, some with gigantic margins. So Barr looked at it, Mitch McConnell looked at it, they had a meeting. That was where the Republican establishment decided Donald Trump's fate. I told you guys on that day. And that's when they came out and said, we're having the Justice Department look into serious allegations, et cetera, reserving the right to see if it's stealable, we'll go for the steal. If it's not, we'll come back and have Barr say, no, the Republican Party is the good guys. And we said that Biden had won, right? So they realized they had to go to plan B, and Trump really thought that they were just his personal lackeys, like that he was a mob boss and he could just order them around. But really the biggest power in the Republican Party is Mitch McConnell. So McConnell very likely told Barr, we're done with him. And so that's why Barr did what he did, and that's why Trump is furious. And I'll give you the exact quote that Anna was alluding to. Behind the scenes, after Trump unloaded on him several times, and I guess Bill Barr, these guys after all this, they're still a little naive. He thought, after I've done every dirty trick in the book for you, Trump, you're not gonna throw me under a bus. Wrong again, Bill. Of course he did. So after he got thrown under a bus, he apparently said to insiders, Barr cannot be intimidated by Trump. This is the real story. None of this matters. It's the deposed king ranting, irrelevant to the course of justice and to Trump's election loss. Okay,
it's incredible.
Yeah, when you were trying to help the king, it was all good. But now that he's a deposed king and he's lost power, and you can't ride on the coattails of that power, all of a sudden you're pointing out the rantings of a deposed king behind the scenes. How very, very bold.
Yeah, and one other thing I just wanted to add, remember, William Barr's whole political ideology centers around the idea that the executive branch should increase as much power and solidify that power as possible. And so I'm curious, look, we're talking about people who, for the most part, unless it has to do with their own political careers or self-interest, are not reasonable people. But I do wonder whether this experience with Donald Trump and the fragility of the democracy that we're living under has made him question what he previously believed or maybe currently believes about executive power. Because if you give one branch of government, especially the executive branch, like unlimited power to do whatever it wants unilaterally, you're asking for trouble. You're really asking for jeopardizing our democratic process. And if Trump could have had his way, yeah, he would totally just take this election, doesn't care about democracy, doesn't care about what the majority of Americans voted for, and he would just remain in power. And that's pretty terrifying, especially because who knows, maybe next time around we wouldn't have these types of safeguards. We wouldn't have some voices of reason who would do the right thing if someone wanted to just stay in office and refuse to leave.
Yeah, by the way, we should immediately get rid of the Electoral College. I know it's a difficult process, but the Democrats should actually try for the first time in their lives, because Trump lost the popular vote by 3 million last time around and still became president. This time he lost by 7 million, and they tried everything they could to even steal this election. So what are we gonna do? We need to win elections by 8-9 million votes in order for there to be a Democrat elected safely. God help us, if it was only 6 or 5 million that Biden had won by, Bill Barr would not have had this position. He would have had the opposite position, because he would have thought, yes, we can hang on to power. Yes, I love executive authority. No, I don't mind a king, as long as there's a realistic chance we could actually gain that power. And the only reason why he appears to be acting on principle is because he realizes there is no realistic chance of Trump holding on to power. Keep it real.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.